Tonight on To The Point.
Your watch has ended, but your legacy will live on in our hearts forever.
Remembering Vacaville police officer Matthew Bowen, the 32-year-old killed in the line of duty.
Tracking the dangerous heat and the relief that's on the way with 80s in the forecast.
President Biden prepares to address the nation about his decision to drop out of the 2024 race. Tonight, what it all could mean for Governor Newsom's future. And protesting Israel's leader, why one local Congress member is boycotting the Prime Minister's speech tomorrow.
Good evening. My name is Becca Habiger. You're watching To The Point with Alex Bell. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Alex is off. Tonight, just hours ago, sadly, family, friends, and loved ones of the law enforcement agencies gathered to remember Officer Matthew Bowen. He is the first Vacaville police officer to die in the line of duty. Bowen was hit on July 11th during a traffic stop by a suspected impaired driver. He died in the hospital soon after. Bowen leaves behind his wife, Elizabeth, his two sons, Mason and Everett, his parents, and a brother. We will have more from Bowen's funeral and the impact he leaves behind coming up a little bit later in the show. But first tonight, in Your Voice, Your Vote, Vice President Kamala Harris made her first official campaign stop today as the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee. She made her case to voters in the key swing state of Wisconsin, trying to draw a sharp contrast between her vision for America and Donald Trump's.
Today, President Joe Biden returned to Washington after recovering from COVID in Delaware. It's the first time we're seeing him since Thursday and since he dropped out of the presidential race. His vice president and now presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris is on the campaign trail in battleground Wisconsin.
The path to the White House goes through Wisconsin. You all helped us win in 2020. And in 2024, we will win again.
Harris plans to campaign against former President Trump by focusing on threats to abortion access and Project 2025.
Donald Trump wants to take our country backward. He and his extreme Project 2025 agenda will weaken the middle class.
Her candidacy is propelled by a flood of endorsements and donations, raising a record $100 million plus since Sunday, getting the official backing of every Democratic governor and nearly all of the party's members of Congress. Today, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries gave their endorsements.
We are brimming with excitement, enthusiasm, unity. Kamala Harris and her candidacy has excited and energized the House Democratic Caucus, the Democratic Party, and the nation.
Some congressional Republicans are targeting Harris's involvement in the Biden administration's policies as part of their case against her. And House Speaker Mike Johnson is questioning Harris's decision to campaign tomorrow instead of attending Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech to Congress.
Madam Vice President, you say you want to be the leader of the free world, and yet you can't bring yourself to sit behind our most important and strategic ally in this moment. That is not a good look for you.
And ahead of Netanyahu's visit to Washington tomorrow, more than 200 protesters gathered on Capitol Hill demanding a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. Hundreds more protesters are expected over the next 2 days. Capitol Police have already made arrests and broken up the demonstration. Now, earlier today, additional security fencing went up around the Capitol. The Israeli Prime Minister is aiming to speak with U.S. leaders, some of whom are wary of his record of interjecting himself in American politics. At stake in the visit are hopes for progress in U.S.-led efforts to mediate an end to this now 9-month-long Israel-Hamas war. Well, California lawmakers are also reacting to the prime minister's visit. U.S. Representative Ami Bera issued this statement today saying, in part, I've made the decision not to attend Prime Minister Netanyahu's joint address. It is imperative to agree to a ceasefire, release the hostages, and negotiate a future that promises peace and stability for Israelis and Palestinians. President Biden, Vice President Harris, and former President Trump each plan to meet separately with Netanyahu this week. Biden is also expected to address the nation tomorrow night. This is the first time since dropping out of the race. And as we've reported, Governor Gavin Newsom has been a main player during this election cycle, openly campaigning for Biden across the country. But now that Biden has dropped out of the race and endorsed Vice President Harris, what does that mean for Newsom's future? Well, ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen looked into it and shares what experts have to say. Jeannie?
Becca, Republican or Democrat experts on both sides tell me we're going to be hearing and seeing Governor Gavin Newsom for a long time, even after he's done being governor.
You know, Gavin Newsom has been a very good soldier for President Biden, and that was easily translatable to Kamala Harris.
Governor Gavin Newsom's loyalty was clear on Sunday when he tweeted his support for Kamala Harris's presidential campaign after President Joe Biden dropped out of the race. And as Harris continues her campaign, political analysts believe this is Newsom's way of trying to get a spot on her administration.
After 26, I would expect him to be either placed in the administration or in a position to help, nationally, because that is a stage that I think he would be really well suited towards.
But Republican strategists believe Governor Newsom would not accept a cabinet position if Harris is elected president.
He's very much, wants to have his own moment. And I just don't see him saying, oh, I'll take a cabinet position. I think he would like to stand on his own.
Whether or not Newsom could potentially serve as a vice president to Harris, experts say that's not exactly possible.
The Constitution would not allow electors from California to vote for both Harris and Newsom if they were a ticket. So the Democrats would have to sacrifice the 54 electoral votes from California if that was the ticket. That's just unacceptable for a party.
Newsom has repeatedly said he would not run against Harris in a presidential election. If she gets elected this time and then reelected, it may be a while before he gets his chance. But experts believe Newsom will most likely try when the time is right.
He's young enough that he has a career ahead of him and could wait that out, but it's going to require patience on his part.
Now, we also reached out to the governor's office and his campaign. His office referred us to his campaign, and we still have not heard back from his campaign manager, Becca.
Jeannie, thank you so much. Meanwhile, former Los Angeles Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa has announced he's making another run for California governor in 2026. In a video posted to social media today, he said, "I believe we need a problem solver to lead our state. That's why I'm running for governor." Villaraigosa previously ran for governor in 2018, but finished third in the primary. Several other Democrats have already announced their candidacy, including Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis, State Senator Tony Atkins, State Superintendent of Public Instruction Tony Thurmond, and former State Controller Betty Yee. Governor Newsom is term limited and he cannot run for re-election. Turning now to the investigation into the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle resigned today following mounting pressure from lawmakers over what they say is her agency's failure to stop a gunman from trying to kill former President Trump. In an email to the agency's employees, Cheadle said the Secret Service fell short of its mission to protect the nation's leaders and that she did not want calls for her resignation to be a distraction. Meanwhile, at a hearing today, members of the House Homeland Security Committee grilled the Pennsylvania State Police Commissioner over the assassination attempt, sharing a video of some lawmakers visiting the warehouse roof where the shooter was positioned.
The slope of the roof, would that have prevented a sniper from being up there?
I don't believe so, sir.
Okay.
House Speaker Mike Johnson and Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries have announced plans for a bipartisan task force to look into the attempted assassination of former President Trump. Still to come on To the Point, how the community is coming together to honor and remember Officer Matthew Bowen, killed in the line of duty.
We're in the second stretch of heat. Major to extreme heat risk continues through tomorrow. We'll talk about when we finally see some relief.
And later, why transportation officials are now investigating Delta Airlines. Welcome back. We're tracking two fires burning right now in Plumas County. Take a look. This is time-lapse video of the Smith and Mills fires. They're now being called the Gold Complex fire. The U.S. Forest Service says lightning strikes caused these fires, and according to CAL FIRE, they've burned 700 acres in the Plumas National Forest so far. Multiple structures are currently threatened. And Monica, we have some more fire weather perhaps fueling this.
Right, especially with the extreme heat that we've been dealing with. Now add to all that dry fuel, and we're going to add some winds to this. equation. As far as our highs for today, you can see across the board, it was remarkable. 110 for downtown Sacramento, starting off with a morning low of 78. 100s for Sacramento Executive, Stockton, and Modesto with those lows starting off in the 70s. That 110, by the way, is going to mark the 5th day this year. So that is going to add to the records that we've seen. So 5 days is the record number of 110-degree days that we have on the books for downtown Sacramento. Future weather for tonight will cool those lows into the mid-70s, a little bit better than this morning. Not by much, though. It's still going to be really oppressive. 60 is where we normally bottom out. So that heat advisory in place through tomorrow evening at 11 o'clock. Highs will still range between 102 to 110. Heat illness still possible. Modifying outdoor activities, really the best way to try to deal with this stretch of heat. We start the morning off in the 70s, sunrise 6:01, and then we warm those highs into the 100s for the afternoon. Sunset at 8:23. At that point, we start to cool conditions, but it's still going to be one of those days. It's going to be pretty tough to be outdoors for long periods of time. As far as our headlines, increasing winds, elevated fire danger for the Valley, foothills, and Delta. Here you see how those winds are going to play into tomorrow's forecast. Coming in from the Pacific, so that will aid with the cooling, but unfortunately with these dry conditions and the heat in the background, we're still going to have that elevated fire risk. Now we're going to repeat that again on Thursday, but at that point, we actually start to see more wide-scale cooler conditions. For tomorrow, though, we're still in that weather impact alert. Highs in the 80s up top for the Sierra, 90s and 100s down low for the foothills. Less thunderstorm action for today, and we'll see pretty much most of that east of the crest. 70s along the coast, 90s inland, but once we get into the valley, we're back into the 100s after morning lows in the 70s to near 80 for some of us. 5-day regional forecast, slight chance of thunderstorms tomorrow for the mountains. Otherwise, we're going to be tracking that cooling trend. Near 100 tomorrow for the foothills, then 80s for the weekend outlook, 70s tomorrow for the coast, then we're back into the 60s. We've got that weather impact alert tomorrow. Highs still hovering in the low 100s, and then we'll start to see some better weather ahead as we stretch this through our 10-day forecast. 80s ahead for the weekend.
I like to see those 80s. Thanks, Monica. Well, next on To the Point, how the community is honoring fallen Vacaville officer Matthew Bowen. Plus, the future of a historic hotel is on the line after a massive fire. Tonight, what city officials want to see done with this building. And later, why a longtime popular restaurant says it has to close its doors. Today, the community came together to honor a police officer killed in the line of duty. A memorial service and procession was held today for Vacaville police officer Matthew Bowen. ABC 10's Elisa Machado has been covering this for us since the beginning and has more on how the community is keeping his memory alive.
Rest in peace. Officer Matthew Bowen, your watch has ended. But your legacy will live on in our hearts forever.
An emotional day as the Vacaville Police Department, family, and friends laid to rest Officer Matthew Bowen, killed in the line of duty just 2 weeks ago.
He filled our lives with so much warmth, dedication, and joy. Right from the start, I knew he was exactly the kind of person we wanted on our team.
Vacaville's police chief, friends, and fellow officers sharing their memories of the 32-year-old officer, highlighting his kindness and dedication to his family and serving the community.
He embodied everything you would want in a good beat partner. I would tell any new officer, if I could give you a roadmap to be successful, be like Matt.
His best friend shared Bowen was raised in Fairfield, an athlete and a musician with big dreams, a husband to his wife Elizabeth and father to his 2 young sons. Officers paving the way as he was laid to rest, and community members lining the streets throughout Vacaville to honor his memory.
And we're out here to show our support for this family, this young family that has been devastated by this senseless act.
Let them know that we're here for them, you know.
For Danielle Jimenez from Vacaville, showing her support means even more.
My husband's actually a CHP officer because it hit very close to home for us.
Matthew Bowen, an officer that served his community till his final day.
Until we meet again, we love you, buddy.
In Vacaville, Alicia Machado, ABC 10.
Bowen's name will be memorialized on the California Peace Officers Memorial Monument in Sacramento next year. And new tonight, the man accused of killing Sacramento County Deputy Mark Stasiak in 2018 was convicted nearly 6 years after that deadly shooting. Today, a jury found the suspect, Anton Lemon Paris, guilty of first-degree murder in the death of Stasiak and guilty of attempted murder against Deputy Julie Robertson. Stasiak and Robertson were involved in a shootout with Paris at a Rancho Cordova Pep Boys in 2018. Paris is scheduled to be sentenced August 19th. In other news, a 15-year-old was killed and a 20-year-old hurt after a shooting in Arden Arcade. It happened just after 10 last night on Ethan Way. The sheriff's office says the shooting could be gang-related, and so far no one has been arrested. And just into the newsroom, Marysville City Council has approved an emergency ordinance which allows the city to apply for a warrant to demolish the Marysville Hotel. This comes after a fire destroyed the vacant building last month, forcing the city to declare a state of emergency. The city fenced off 105 feet around the hotel in case of collapse. That has impacted Highway 70, a major thoroughfare in Marysville. Both the city and business owners along that corridor have been wanting the building torn down.
Coming down, as weird as it sounds, I think it could be something good for the community.
Just rip the Band-Aid off now and just tear the hotel down if that's what we need to do to get the businesses back open.
It's still unclear who will be footing the bill for this demolition and when it could be completed. We will continue to follow the story and bring you updates online at abc10.com. All right, turning to your price points tonight, the U.S. Department of Transportation is now launching an investigation into Delta Airlines. This is as the airline struggles to get back on track after that global tech outage last week. According to the flight tracking company FlightAware, Delta today had to cancel hundreds of flights. That's after canceling some 1,100 flights yesterday and altogether more than 5,000 since Friday. The company responded to the investigation, saying in part, Delta teams are working tirelessly to care for and make it right for customers impacted by delays and cancellations as we work to restore the reliable, on-time service they have come to expect from Delta. On Capitol Hill, House leaders are demanding answers from CrowdStrike CEO George Kurtz, calling on him to testify before Congress and explain how a software update from Microsoft led to what is considered the largest IT outage in history. And some Big Lots locations in California are closing their doors. The company's website shows 12 locations closing throughout Northern California, though it's not clear when their last day will be. According to an earlier release from the company, they had a net loss of $205 million in the first quarter of this year. Well, fans of an iconic Sacramento waterfront restaurant in Old Sacramento say they are heartbroken to see it will be soon closing. Rio City Cafe made the announcement on Facebook Monday. Well, we reached out to the general manager who said in a quote, "I need today to gather myself from all this. I am extremely distraught and sad." He says it's because the city, who is their landlord, closed both decks and is refusing to fix them, he says. He also says the revenue has been cut in half because of that decision. But now Mayor Darrell Steinberg says he's willing to meet with Rio City Cafe's owners and have a conversation about possible options.
We now have the resources we didn't have before to not only repair the dock, but to invest $40+ million in a broad and dynamic modernization of Old Sacramento.
That money is coming from hotel tax funds, and Steinberg says the council will discuss Old Sacramento waterfront modernization plans in August or September. Well, next on To The Point, a grandpa's one-wheeled mission to help raise money for his grandson who has type 1 diabetes. Right now, a Folsom grandfather is gearing up to ride 60 miles on a unicycle. He's doing it in support of his 4-year-old grandson who has type 1 diabetes. Doug Lee is 60 years old and determined to ride his age in miles on a unicycle to fundraise for Breakthrough T1D. That's a nonprofit specializing in type 1 diabetes research. Now, his grandson, Maddox, was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when he was a baby. Lee says a friend of his, who is also a unicyclist, tries to ride his age every year, which is what inspired Lee.
Breakthrough T1D has fundraisers, and they're usually like bike rides, but you're riding a unicycle. My speed is faster than a runner, but slower than someone on 2 wheels. And so I can't join typical fundraising groups.
Half the wheels of a bicycle, twice as impressive. You can learn more about the fundraiser and how to support Lee on our website, abc10.com. Well, thanks so much for watching us and inviting us into your home. If you have something you think we should be looking into, please send the team an email at tothepoint@abc10.com. Have a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
Hey, it's Alex. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. The To The Point team and I love hearing from you, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. And don't forget, you can always email me and the team at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send us a text message at 916-321-3310.